So we're the Ladners. I'm Allie, this is Anthony, and we have 4 children. Eloise, Charlie, Penelope, but she goes by Poppy, George. So Charlie is 5. He was born with a congenital heart defect called transposition of the greater arteries. It was a surprise to us. We didn't know until after he was born. As we were anticipating his birth, it was a really normal pregnancy, but when he was born, he began to not breathe well.
Charlie got on mom's chest, right? Got on your chest. And I remember you saying, hey, he's not crying. And I said, oh, maybe, that's, it's not unheard of. And you were like, no, something's wrong.
So at first they were not really sure if he was just transitioning or if he had a respiratory issue or his lungs weren't mature. But as soon as they found out that he had a cardiac defect, they had a cardiologist that was on call, came in, and he looked at the ultrasound, and the first thing he said is transposition, and then the team just went. It's essentially where the 2 major vessels of the heart are switched, so the transposed or switched. And that's something that it's really harsh to say, but it's not compatible with life. There's no way you can live with that defect, the one that he had. I remember sitting there and them drawing out the picture of the heart and explaining how blood should go and how it wasn't going, and then looking at this little baby being like, how is this possible on this tiny little heart that's beating about the size of a walnut? But they explained it to us really, really well, and they spent a lot of time just like sitting at our bedside and reassuring us that what his heart defect was the best one that you could have if you needed a heart defect corrected, because they literally will just take the 2 vessels and they switch them back.
It really tests not only your marriage, it tests your faith, it tests like you as a person. We knew at that time that we were all we had. We had to count on each other, we had to count on our faith, we had to count on the doctors to help us make those right decisions during that pivotal and trying and confusing and just almost detrimental time, because it was life or death.
There's also large network that parents around the country of other children who have had that same defect kind of bridge together through social media of all things. So there's some good benefits to social media, and that was really helpful for us. A lot of other people told their stories, and then they would show pictures of their children, 10, 20 years from then, and they're, cheering on a cheerleading team in college or playing football and doing all these things. And I think that gave us a ton of hope that Charlie would probably have a normal life, or there's always crosses to bear and bridges to get over, but that gave me so much reassurance. And it was actually one of the cardiologists was like, hey, you should join this social media group for just people who just have that diagnosis. But I think listening to other people's stories was probably like that got me through it.
And I just remember sitting in this garden outside, and we prayed for hours on end, and it was a very trying time. And I don't think, without the faith and without the medical team and just without you, I couldn't have got through that alone.
The team of residents and nurses and doctors and med students, they worked so well together that it was just this powerful unit where they'd come in as a group, and they would come in, but they also could break down their knowledge so that we could understand too. The cardiologist that diagnosed Charlie, we were sitting there, tears in our eyes. He had just had a baby. He looked at us straight in the eyes and he said, 5 years from now, the only thing you're gonna be worried about are who his friends are.
Yeah. One of the things that was near and dear to me was trying to find a way to get more involved. I felt as though it was like an intrinsic thing that I needed to do to just advocate. Time is a precious thing, as we've kind of found out, going through this with Charlie, and it doesn't take much time to just advocate, right? It doesn't take much time just to have a conversation. It doesn't take much time to share something that the American Heart Association posts on Facebook or Instagram. Most people are on there anyway. just take the time, just do it, right? Because you may not know how far that chain goes. You may not know how that story may impact someone on the other side.
The progress that the AHA has made in the last 100 years is fantastic and phenomenal. And the surgery that he had, which, wouldn't have even existed in the last, 35 years. So without the AHA and without awareness and without the funding, back then, kids with Charlie wouldn't even had a chance.
This is the pivotal moment of, we're here at 100 years. Let's see where the next 100 years takes us from all the research and development that you guys are raising tonight will bring us.